This is my first, and it was really because of Andrea. Andrea or Andrea, what's your preference?
Andrea.
Andrea, that she says, "Hey Joe, I want to be a part of your podcast." I didn't have anything set up for this nature, but she motivated me. She was my catalyst. I want to thank you for that. I promised her she would be my inaugural guest. So, likely, folks, in this live, unscripted phenomena, that we may make mistakes, but that's part of what we're doing. And by the way, if you conduct a business to make it successful, mistakes will be made. You learn from it, you cope with it for the moment, and you get better. And I thoroughly expect that. Thank you for those who are watching us. The theme here is, are you prepared to take the hot seat challenge for success? And what I mean by that is, I have a claim that I state. I don't claim that I see dead people, but I will see things about you that will give you a distinct advantage in your market over the competition. And I call that your secret sauce. What is it about you that nobody else can lay claim to? So we will begin, and people will prefer your uniqueness factor. So the protocol here is that we'll spend the first 20 minutes talking about Andrea, not what she does, but who she is, the person. And for the final 10 minutes, then we'll talk about her business and how that floats her persona, her karma, whatever we define it to be, into her business. And I suspect there'll be those in the audience will say, hey, I want that for me in my business also. We'll see where it goes. I'm going to walk the talk. Anyway, that being said, the question I begin with when I speak with Andrea is, what's your secret sauce? My first mistake. What's your favorite pastime?
I love to travel. And I think that, as you get older and you have those opportunities to travel, it's just amazing. We went to Alaska this summer, which was, I recommend for anyone to go to Alaska. We did both land and cruise,
See,
inhaling that air.
I'm going to interrupt, folks, and I can tell you why. This is our first time. That I don't want to know about what you're doing now. I want to know how you got there. I mean, were you an infant and you were born on an airplane, so over the ocean? That's
You're
kind of
going a little, you're going a little over dramatic here, Joe. My parents always traveled,
okay.
and many times,
Were they in the in the
no,
military? No. Okay.
no. My parents left my grandparents watching, babysitting me, my brother, and my sister.
Okay.
And my parents would go off on a cruise here or a tour there.
Nice.
And so I always grew up with this love for those experiences. And then my parents always took us on wonderful vacations, mostly driving vacations.
Okay.
And seeing things and experience things and creating those memories to me is so much more valuable than a tangible thing.
I hear that. Well, I guess if you grow up with it, then it's a part of your normal life. How many times would you say average? So you take you in a car. You may not remember when you were 6 months old, but can you remember the first recall of actually traveling? What it was that grabbed you?
Gosh, I just remember we would go to the Pennsylvania Dutch country, or
Okay.
we would go up to the Catskill Mountains.
Right.
And we even took a road trip to visit relatives in Michigan, or
Hmm.
driving down the Jersey Shore. I'm a Jersey girl through and through.
Okay.
So just going down to the Jersey Shore. So just being in the car, going apple picking.
Hmm.
And I just remember all these great experiences that my parents would bring along in the car, those little individual boxes of cereal, and we'd
Hmm.
fight over who would get the
Uh,
Cocoa Puffs
okay.
and and the Tang.
Hmm.
And I'm dating myself, but those experiences of sharing
I hear that.
and being somewhere different, not in your own home. It just is a great experience, and to this day, I love it.
Okay, I hear that, and that makes sense. What was most the so you make the experience, and I'm assuming the experience was a category or accumulation of several factors. If you had to name maybe the top one or two experiences per se, let me ask this better, hopefully better, differently. Was there a particular experience in the years you've done this that stands out with you most strikingly?
Well, I have to go to more present day as opposed to when I was a little kid. But like I
Okay.
said, going to Alaska just a number of weeks ago was a dream, and taking a helicopter and landing on a glacier and
Yeah.
drinking glacier water
Oh my.
Phenomenal experience.
Mm-hmm.
Cruising the Mediterranean, and I remember we were on a tour bus, and we go around a corner, and there's the Colosseum, and I'm just grabbing my husband, saying, "It's real! It's the Colosseum!" And going to Venice and seeing the David, and I said,
Right.
"Oh my goodness, we are seeing the David in person," and going to Israel and being on Masada,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh my gosh, the history right on this spot, and going to China, and going to the Caribbean, and going to Mexico, and uh, having these opportunities. And in about a year or so, I'm finally going to make it to England. I've always wanted to go to London and hadn't done it. And so that's happening in about a year. So it's just the excitement of the planning and
Right.
the execution and memories.
I hear that. That's interesting. So it sounds like, rephrase that. I'm just the opposite. I'm the antithesis of it. I say a Yankee. If I don't have to worry about different customs and different languages and different attitudes and different this. So I hold myself back. But it sounds like you really get into this as let's go out and experience it. In fact, one of the images that I noted about Andrea when we were doing our book cover, or they say thumbnail, I called it a book cover for this particular event, that you were on a yacht, a ship that you were playing Mahjong. Am I saying that correctly?
I was actually in China on the Yangtze River on a riverboat playing mahjong. Now,
Wow.
mahjong is a tile game that
Mm-hmm.
originated in China. And today, mahjong is a very popular game. You might have thought it's only your grandma that played mahjong, but there are many of us that think we're a bit younger that socialize and play mahjong. And I've been playing mahjong with my very friendly Tuesday night mahjong group for about
Interesting.
18 years. We have a name.
Okay.
And so here I was on the Yangtze River playing mahjong,
And you say we have a name. What's your name?
the very friendly Tuesday night mahjong group.
Oh, what a creative name.
We're very friendly. That's the
For,
important part. And we always, when someone says, "What are you doing?" "Oh, do you have plans tomorrow night?" "Yes, I'm with the very friendly."
I get that. And for those who may not know the game, and I don't know, I know two things about it, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong. One, it's like a very intricate, it's like checkers and chess. Chess is a much more intricate game than checkers. And I think Mahjong, if I'll get it said correctly yet, is the same kind of phenomena. It's dominoes, but so much more in
Yeah, in
game and skill.
mahjong, you have a card. You have hands that you're trying to get to,
Right.
and you don't know when you mix up the tiles, will you be able to get to that hand? And you're picking and you're throwing and you're trying to strategize, and you're looking at maybe exposed tiles that your friends have put out, and you have to figure out, okay, I can't play this because they already had that tile. I'm not
Right.
going to get it. So, and usually by the time we're playing on a Tuesday evening, I've had a full day of work, and my
Mm-hmm.
brain is no longer functioning. So I always need thinking minutes.
I hear that. So what it means to me is it's dominoes is simply get the right numbers, and maybe there's some strategy about when do you play the six or the one or the zero, but you have to not just play yourself as much as you do with mahjong. You have to be aware of what the possibilities are, and then not play into that dead end. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, that, and not throw a tile that you could sense that one of your table mates might need in order to win, because you see what they might have already exposed in a hand.
I
And
hear.
there are times that I'll throw something and someone will call mahjong, they'll win, and everyone's like, "Andrea, why'd you throw that?" I'm like, "Oh, guys, I'm so tired."
That's funny. So it's a psych game, also. I get that. At least in part, at least you make it sound like that, tired or not.
Exactly.
Well, that's interesting. I bring that up because when I saw that image of you on the ship playing the game, you had this grin on your face that said to me two things. One, Andrea, I belong at this moment. I'm totally enjoying it. And I don't know what that feedback is, folks. I'm going to go.
That is the neighbor's lawn service
Oh, okay.
that decided to show up extra early this morning. It never shows up for a few more hours. So
Okay.
unfortunately, the neighbor is off schedule today.
Fair enough.
My apologies.
No, that's okay. I really don't mind that. First off, again, this is a live production, folks. It's
Yep.
unrehearsed, and things come up, and that's part of the fun of it. And actually, this is what Andrea does. You get me you give me the impression when I saw your image and I was saying that you were looking in the camera and the shot was taking you. You had some of the, are they called cubes or tiles?
Tiles.
Tiles, okay. In your hand, and you had this grin on your face like, I really belong here. And not so much that I belong here in fun and presence, but I get the sense that for your business, you share that same degree of enthusiasm. That,
Certainly,
okay,
certainly. When you love what you do, you've never worked a day in your life.
okay.
And I think that, whether I'm in China having an opportunity to play mahjong, which is played differently in China,
Wow.
but while I'm traveling and on a riverboat, and actually sitting across the table from me was a very good friend of mine who I was traveling with,
Right.
having that opportunity, and then the opportunity to do what I love every day through Andrea Past Public Relations. What more can I ask for?
That's true. Well, again, I said script first 20 minutes in the last 10 minutes. I'm going to shift the timeline on this in that what I get out of this from your history. Let me say this differently. When I noted that you say you hope you next year you intend to go to New England or Great Britain, and I know there's a distinction between the two there. See, I'm just the opposite. I want to go to a place that they speak English. I have to worry too much about how I pronounce things, or at least enough to be understood. You've done everything not purely spontaneous. As a kid, you go where the parents take you. I get that. But for you, it seems to be more the adventure, more the unknown, more the exploration, more the growing. And if I'm reading that correctly, that is to me a far different cry than going onto the computer and looking up by yourself your vacation plan syndrome, because the computer won't have the degree of adventure that you might have. In fact, let me take this further. I would suspect if you want a mundane trip, that go to the computer and ask and poke in the certain buttons and check the certain boxes, you'll get a vacation. But I would suspect if you want an experience and not just a trip, not just an event, not just time away, that Andrea would be the kind of persona where you say, I want something different in my life to do. You'd be the go-to person. Is that a decently correct read?
I think each person has what they love or want to experience. And I think that I've certainly made recommendations to friends. I have a friend that's going on a trip, actually Thursday, that we had recommended to them. So I'm
Right.
very excited for them to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that travel, it just opens your mind to so many different things. And I was telling a story the other day to a friend. We were on a cruise ship and we were having breakfast, and someone across the table was squeezing a tube of something onto their toast. And
Right.
we said, excuse me, what is that? Well, they were from Australia and they brought along their own Vegemite. Well, I didn't know anything about Vegemite.
I don't
And I
either.
said, what is that? And they said, you explained what it was, and it's a topping that you spread on your toast. Would you like to taste it? Well, my husband and I jumped at this opportunity to try Vegemite. I report back that we did not like it, and nor do we ever have to have it again. But we could say we try it. So I guess my adventurousness, it's not extreme, but it's enjoyable, and it allows you to have those great stories to share with other people, and then find that you have something in common.
I agree. It's a lot of things plus, and I was saying that in a positive nature. Many people that I speak with, well, I need to get away in terms of a trip, and it seems like the impetus or the motivation is not so much what you would suggest. Let's go explore something. It's getting away from something rather than anticipating something, and that's what I'm hearing from you as a style, if I'm correct on that. And so I can, as a persona, first off, if I understand correctly, technically, you don't cost anything more than somebody going to the computer and getting it off the screen. The fee is basically the same.
The
For
fee,
rephrase that. Some people think if I go on the computer and click my own boxes, I'm going to save money, versus going to a public relations person. And it's not so much the travel, but to put it in a different perspective, that metaphorically, if somebody wants to build their business, you can go to any number of people. You can go online. You can do any number of things that you want to promote your visibility and your presence. Well, I want more than that. I don't want to just do what everybody else is doing. I want somebody who is going to present me in a manner that's of a different quality, a different experience value for my market. Is that kind of permeates into
And
your business?
exactly, when it comes to public relations, and I'm always puzzled by people who say, I'm just going to do it myself. And of course, they don't do it themselves. They don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you need to hire a professional, because I would never cut my own hair or do my own dental work. I go to the salon or I go to the dentist. Same thing in your business. You want your business to grow and you want your business to be out there. And public relations is all about securing press coverage to increase your brand awareness, increase your thought leadership, increase general awareness, all to drive sales to your product, your service, your book. And if you're not out there in the media and your competitor is, well, then you really don't know how to do public relations. And that's why you need to step up and say, I'm going to hire Andrea Past Public Relations to get me in the media, keep me relevant, keep it consistent. And then you, the business owner or your social media person, can share all this press on your social media, on your website, and post it again in 3 weeks after that interview comes out,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 6 weeks later, 3 months later, 6 months later, because the content is informative and educational. And we are all starved for content at different times.
Fair enough. I'm going to interrupt. I would take that a little bit further, nuanced further. I would suggest that anybody virtually who has training in public relations or history in that industry, if it's formal or otherwise, that they could maybe make the same claim to varying degrees. And I think many prospects, clients to be, are confused. Well, yeah, but I can do a Google search and find somebody that makes that same statement. What you stand out for me is not enough for you based on who you are, the person, to go through simply, I say simply, the technical aspects of it. There are technical aspects, but I want something that's going to stand out. I treat my business as my firstborn child, and of course I love all my kids in the same manner, but it's going to take care of me for the rest of my life if I take good care of it. And as a dutiful parent, I'm going to do everything I can to maximize the value exposure to that child. Well, as I speak with you in your love for traveling, that you are willing to take an outsider's perspective, not willing to take it, it's ingrained who you are. That it's clear to me that if I were to ask you to be my public relations persona, you call it your public relations investigator, and I have to ask you.
I'm your PI in PR, your private investigator in public relations, because I am investigating press opportunities for you.
Fair enough. And that's kind of what I'm alluding to. Sorry, I got that wrong, folks. That it's not enough for you to do the technical aspects of public relations. That what my observation is through this dialogue is that your persona is something different. It's something exploratory, something expansive, because that's who you are, the person. And as a result of that, if somebody wants the same old as any public relations persona, look it up in the yellow pages or do a Google search. I'm dating myself also. But if you want somebody that says, I really, really want to get the best value for my money being spent, that I really want to stand above the competition, that what is presented is not the same as my competitors are presenting, would you be that go-to person?
100%. I think, everyone has their differentiator, or as you say, your secret sauce. And I think the fact that I'm honest. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people in business who are not honest.
Mm-hmm.
If someone calls me up and says, I just want you to get me in the Wall Street Journal. Well, not every business is Wall Street Journal material.
Okay.
You're not publicly traded. You're not well known. You don't have big names behind you. Mm-hmm. Let's start with audiences that will actually respond to you, because the Wall Street Journal is not going to write a feature story on XYZ company that no one ever heard of. We have to start with something else.
Right.
And sometimes they don't want to hear my honesty, and that's okay. And I say to them, then I'm not the PR person for you. They go to someone else. They spend money because the other person is willing to take their money and not get the job done.
Right.
And then they come back to me. And, my secret sauce is that I'm honest. I'm realistic. I find new media outlets because there are so many. And today's world is filled with a lot of homegrown journalists, not necessarily those who went to college to study journalism. And that's okay, because they bring a different audience to the table, and we are all consuming content. And I'm finding a way for you, your business, product, service, book, to be in that content. So my secret sauce is almost my honesty, my relationship building. I want to work for you. I want to get the job done. But certain times you pivot, you zig, you zag. Certain things can be accomplished. Certain things maybe cannot be accomplished. So let's not waste the time. Let's find other ways to accomplish success in press coverage for your business.
I hear that. I'm still going to nuance a little bit differently in that you say finding, and I make notes. That's why I look down every now and then. Finding a way for you, the client, to be successful in your visibility. And I think that's the key. I think a lot of people I meet, they go by the book. Nothing wrong with that. Technically, they may be very sharp, may be very efficient, proficient with what they do. But I think that's not enough for you. Your exploratory manner of traveling, of looking for things novel, absorbing it, trying new things, not you made earlier about that dish that you really didn't like, but you're willing to try it brand new as an experience. I suspect you poke just as effectively in your public relations aspects too. What, and you alluded to that very clearly. Not, okay, you want PR, I've got these three things off the shelf, I'll plug you in. No, you will find something that's unique, specific for that particular company, that person, and will be honest enough, as you say, have enough integrity to say, even to walk away from it. You told that person that gave you that different dish, oh, not for me, I've tried it, but it's not going to work. When you have the experience, you can say that kind of before the fact. It's not going to work. Be very honest about it. So I think that's something most people I meet in any industry, they don't have that type of willingness to go beyond the standard to say, well, I'm going to find something that's going to be good for you, that's going to work best for you. Am I reading?
I think one of the things people say, oh, do you do press release blasts? Well, number one, no one reads a press release anymore.
Okay.
So it's antiquated.
Good to
know.
And a
blast, I'm not taking a media list and throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks.
Okay.
Okay. There are a lot of people that'll do that for a lot more money than I charge, and they'll get nowhere. I research, and that's why I joke that I'm a private investigator. I'm going to research the media outlet, research the press person. Back in the olden days, people would mail books or products. They would just do things to mailing lists of 500 or more people, and no one would respond to them. I don't work that way. Okay. I want to find the right places that are going to respond in order to secure the press coverage. So I'm not writing a press release, putting it up on a wire service, or blasting it to a list. And sitting and twiddling my thumbs and saying, oh, did any of that spaghetti stick to the wall? Yay, great. Now I can say I accomplished something. No, because I want to be in touch with my clients constantly, finding new media outlets, new ways to communicate to different audiences. And here's a perfect example right here with you. You have an audience. And so whether your audience is 1, 1,000, or 10,000, it doesn't matter, because it's the one that's going to make a decision to make a purchase, engage my client in any way possible. And so you've got to remember, it's one, and it's one more, and it's one more.
I hear that. Two things that come to mind as I hear you talk. One, I go back in the day before we had COVID, we can do actual physical meetings, and we're moving back in that direction again. I go maybe for a lunch break after the meeting, the morning meeting, and the waitress will say, the receptionist, only one. And I'll say, no, one more than you had 3 seconds ago. So I hear you say one and one and one. And to your point, it was Andrea that approached me that said, Joe, I want to be part of your podcast. And I didn't even have anything set up yet. There was nothing on the table.
Well, you were talking about it at a meeting, so I knew you had this thought.
I hear that, but that's the point I'm making. I'm not being critical. That Andrea goes beyond the moment to discover things, and that's kind of what I'm saying here. That you'll go.
Can I tell a quick story?
Please.
I had done some research, and I had found this video cast. And so I reached out to the host I'm a Jersey girl. He's a Texas guy.
I won't hold that against you.
And so he says, I don't work with PR people.
Hmm.
That's was his response to me.
Right.
And I said, you've never worked with me. No, PR people don't get me the information I need. So I said, can we please have a telephone call,
Hmm.
or a Zoom call, get to
Right.
know each other. So he says, fine, I'll give you 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So of course, what did I do as a good PR person? I watched a few of his episodes, get on the call. He says hello. I say hello. I said, is it okay that we're going to agree to disagree on the name of the TV show that was his favorite?
Hmm.
And he said, you listened to my podcast. I said, yes, I did. I
Hmm.
said, and another thing I totally agreed with, and I brought up a quote from one of his guests,
Hmm.
which was a separate podcast.
Right.
And then I went into a third one, and he says, you are different. Okay. He is now considering hiring me to be his PR person. He
Okay.
has accepted every person, every client I brought to him because he knows the client will be prepared for the interview. The information he needs will be provided to him. And he knows that I am also going to share that information after the interview airs, as will my client. So it's giving it a shot.
Fair enough. And taking the initiative, having the heads up, open view of your world around you. You summarized it very nicely. Thank you for taking the burden off me. I'll say that. Nicely done. And so, folks, what do we mean by this? From my perspective, that if you're not interested in looking to broaden the exposure of your business, this program has no value to you. As a consumer, if you're interested in talking to somebody who takes the initiative, takes the time like you did with me, this program exists in large part because of Andrea reaching out to me and making the ask, and I responded. Thank you very much again for that. That being said, what I see part of your secret sauce, and you made that comment before, and it's more than just one word. I'm looking for one ingredient. We've poked up 3 or 4 ingredients toward that sauce, that you take the initiative clearly, by example, that you piece things together very nicely, you make it relevant because of who you are, not the technical aspects of it. So if you are a company looking to bring that visibility to your business world, Andrea's part of her secret sauce certainly reflects that concept. Now, here's the commercial break that if you as a viewer wants the same chance for yourself, please feel free to make a comment. We do audit the comments after both Andrea and I do that. And to respond back, if you have any suggestions, any questions, or would like to be part of this program, please feel free to reach out in any of the vehicles that we present. There will be the reruns available up to maybe a week after this live performance. You can click at and look at your convenience and get back to either of us. And Andrea's information is in the YouTube description format, and in fact, all categories, be it Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I'm not sure about Twitter, and I'm not sure about Instagram. This is stuff I need to learn also. Any final things you'd like to say, Andrea?
No, I always enjoy talking with you, Joe, and I always enjoy talking about the value of public relations in your marketing mix. And people often say, when should I start? Well, start today.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you have a business, you have a website, and you have social media pages, start your PR today. Don't wait for next month or
Right.
next year or 2 years later. Start your PR now and reach out to me at andreapasspr.com is my website, and schedule a complimentary consultation with me. And let's talk about how PR can benefit you and how PR should work in your marketing budget. So it's always great to talk about PR and my secret sauce of getting it done.
Thank you for being my guest. Audience, thank you for being a part of our group. Please give us feedback, good, bad, and different. We'd love to hear from you. And I, Joe Wesley, and Andrea Pass, thank you for your attendance, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Have a good one, folks.